Let's go ahead and talk about the next thing that happened, and that is the fact that Wizards of the Coast's Magic the Gathering Arena team has officially unionized. Now, I'm going to be talking about this as well on the Magic the Gathering channel. That's probably going to be the video that I release Friday, later in the day, because I don't have time to do it today. But for the time being, I do want to say that I am happy this has happened. So let's just real quick go over the particulars of what has happened so far after we do the fan art section so that we can at least get y'all's lovely artwork out of the way and into the world. This is from Jackson Bar. They said, I've been meaning to make and share Suris fan art for like forever, so I figured I'd get in on this contest. Also, tried doing a slime alt with colors just to see how the thing fits. Ultimately, if it won, I wouldn't expect all the exact same colors to be matched one-to-one because I'm not great at remembering the exact skin colors and translating them into different lighting. Pretty sure Suris is, in fact, paler than this. Yes, my character model is paler than that, but you did get the purples pretty correct. That said, this feels very like bar maiden, like bar wench. I think I could go with a bar wench Suris, but looking at the tassel on the actual tail, probably meant to be closer to like an alchemist. But yeah, it definitely looks like a bar wench. Oh shit, Jex is actually in the chat saying things. So you can actually confirm to me. Precisely. Okay, so alchemist and bar wench together is like what we're looking at right there. Okay, fair enough. As always, thank you for your fan art submissions. If you want your fan art to be shown in a future video, the best way to do so is to drop it into the fan art section of the Discord. And remember that all of the fan art that is in the suit contest section of the Discord is being put in for the new VTuber model outfit. For the VTuber model that is currently being worked on. Actually, before we get into that real quick, I know we're going to talk about the Watson Union thing, and maybe skip ahead here if you are not excited about what has been going on with the model like I am, but I want to give a little sneak peek. I'll do a more in-depth sneak peek over on Patreon, but I wanted to give a little sneak peek for you of how the model is going so far. But this is... We just got the eyes corrected. The eyes were blue, and it wasn't able to turn to the sides as easily as we wanted it to. But we are closer to where we need to be. We got the little slime Suris down there, and got a lot of nice fluid movements there with everything. Said, good lord, the physics. Mehu Labs is doing a great job on this. Their name is Izumi Sora, and they go by Mehu Labs. And their stuff is good. So I wanted to go ahead and get them, but I like the drippy. I like the way that the hair is looking. The fact that the hair is obviously meant to look like regular hair, but it obviously coalesces into slime. Like, that is a fun touch, and I really like it. So Debita says, I like your current model more. It looks more cartoony and anime related. And you know what? That is entirely fair. That is entirely fair, and I will still use this model as well, just like I sometimes use my male model and Remixon's model, etc. But this is one that I should be able to use for a while into the future because I want to be able to get a lot of different outfits for it. So I have worked out something with Mehu Labs for getting new outfits out specifically. Tazora says, weirdly enough, I think I prefer the current model because I think mostly because the fact that the tum is thicker. That, again, completely understandable. Though I did ask Izumi when they were working on this specifically to try to get the model's tummy thicker from the original design, and they did actually do that. They did make the model thicker from what it originally was going to be, and I am happy about that. I am very, very happy about that. Let me see if I can find where that one is specifically, where the first version of this was. Yeah, the original version that we were looking at was this one here. So there's about an inch more on the waist on the current model than there was on the original model, or on the original sketch that was done. So they did make sure that things got a little closer to what I wanted, so I am happy about that, specifically. The Clay says, incredible fan art, incredible model updates. Much love to the local artists. Well, I wish even a fucking one of my artists was local. Bonbons in the fucking Netherlands. Remixes in Ukraine. Suzu's in Finland. Stoff's up in, I think, fucking New York? Jack and Quill, I don't know where he is these days. And Izumi, I don't even know where Izumi is. Like, everybody is somewhere different. Everybody is somewhere different. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into what happened with WotC specifically. So, first, let's go ahead and look at what they posted on social media. United Wizards of the Coast says today is a momentous day for the workers of Magic the Gathering Arena. After months of planning, waiting, and organizing, our dream is finally a reality. The votes have been counted, and our union of WotC CWA has been officially elected. From this day forward, we have a union. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about what a union is, because I'm sure there's going to be somebody who doesn't know what a union is at all. And if you are that person who doesn't know, a union is just a group of people who collectively work in either a similar area or at a similar job, who collectively have usually a certain amount of money that is pooled together as union dues, so that if anybody has a problem, if there is an issue, instead of going to HR and trying to fight about it individually, the union is instead able to advocate for you. The union is usually able to use and leverage the power of things like strikes against a company, so that a company is forced to give people proper wages, proper hours, proper medical care, things that companies largely will try to hold closer to their chest because they cost more money. Terrence says, a union is a political party for your workplace. Basically, it's one step below democracy in the workplace. It is democracy adjacent to your workplace, where you can use collective power to fight. And I know that there's people who have said, like, oh, well, you could just strike without a union. No, not really. Imagine trying to convince each person individually in your workforce to not go to work tomorrow when one of them has to feed their kids. At least with a union, you have the chance, though it's not always available, but you have the chance of there being pay that is available for people while they are on strike. Strike pay is one of the biggest benefits. Defania says, can any job be unionized? Because I feel like there's a lot of jobs people think can't be unionized. Every single job can be unionized, asterisk. So it's a little harder when it's 1099 stuff, but it's not impossible because SAG-AFTRA exists. You get the Voice Actor Guild as an example. The Lag Witch says, examples from my workplace, a guy got his write-up thrown out because management didn't bring a union rep for it. Good. God, imagine that. Yeah, so when I was working at Walmart, Walmart's one of the most anti-union companies on the planet, and I followed company protocol. Company protocol, Jessica says, why aren't there teachers' unions? There are. What? Huh? What are you talking about? Teachers' unions are a thing. Huh? Said, oh, not in my state? No. No. So, like, they are a thing. They are. If they're not a thing in your state, then I don't know. But, like, the AFT is a thing. The American Federation of Teachers? Like, that is a thing. That said, when I was working at Walmart, I remember that there was a guy who was working as a ZMS. Now, if you don't know what a ZMS is, it's because you didn't work at Walmart. But a ZMS is somebody who is over a department or a group of departments. He was the ZMS of the back room. I was Department 82. Department 82 handles everything from seasonal stuff to candy in the front aisles to technically card game stuff, but really there's a vendor for that. And I remember while I was doing the seasonal work, while I was getting pallets down from the garden center, the rule that we had to do was if we left a pallet on the floor, which I had to do because I was called in to help with something, you needed to take a cart and put it on top of the pallet. Because by putting a cart on top of a pallet, you made it visible for a customer to see so that a customer could not get injured tripping over the pallet. And you couldn't just stack a pallet up sideways somewhere because that one was an OSHA violation. So I did the thing that I was supposed to do via company protocol. Then, 2 hours later, I got called by Jeremy, who used to be the ZMS in the back room, where all the stuff in Department 82 was stored. Department 82, the back room, fucking hated. He had got promoted to grocery manager, and he called me into the office and said, hey, you broke company protocol. You made an unsafe environment for workers. And I said, how? And he said, oh, well, you left a pallet out. And I said, well, I left the pallet out with a card on it, sir. Well, the fact that I didn't have to have a union rep or anything to actually protect me meant that all I could do was say, "Sir, can we please look at the camera footage to see when a pallet that I put out there had its cart removed so that you can see that I did the thing I'm supposed to do specifically?" And he said, "Nope, can't do it." Had I had a union rep, I would have been a lot safer in that situation. I wouldn't have gotten a D-Day later, which is a thing I don't want to explain right now, but it's basically you have to write an essay about why you should be allowed to keep your job. I am a union advocate because there are plenty of situations that I've been stuck in where a union would have gotten me out of the fucking jam. The first thing I want to see before we look at any of the information on this, right on, what does this mean for consumers of Magic moving forward? Higher costs? Probably higher costs? Nothing really? Alright, so, first of all, the union is not about you. It is not about the consumer. It is about the people making the thing that you are consuming. What does it mean going forward if the company that you are getting your goods for is unionized? It might mean you have higher costs because the union workers might ask for higher pay. But it also will mean that those workers aren't having to engage in damn near slave labor crunch practices because they have a union representing them. And I feel like operating, like we talked about with the Brianna Wu episode, operating on an individual level and not actually advocating for the well-being of our other people in society is a really fucking stupid thing to do and say and be. I think that we should be more open as human beings to other human beings having their situations be bettered. So if you have a union where people aren't going to have to be forced to get engaged with crunch as much and they'll have more fair pay, then you'll be fine. Also, higher costs in what way? The Wizards of the Coast is not unionizing. The Wizards of the Coast Arena team is unionizing, and obviously that might mean that WotC itself might unionize, and it's good for them to be unionized because they need something to help them fight up against fucking Hasbro because Chris Cox can suck 12 cocks. Your individual trading cards that you're buying are not going to get more expensive because there's a union there. They're already getting more expensive without a union there. Actually, universes beyond licenses, don't worry, that cost has been put onto you, the consumer. The actual weight of Universes Beyond in sets like Standard, that weight has also been thrown onto you, the consumer, and you never got a choice about it, other than disengaging with the hobby, which most of us who play Magic don't want to do. So, you already have the higher costs, and a union wasn't the culprit then, and it won't be the main culprit later. So, let's go ahead and read what's going on here. We've actually got the United Wizards of the Coast website here, and then we've got the Rock, Paper, Shotgun article to go over in regards to everything that happened. United Wizards of the Coast, CWA, a union of Magic the Gathering Arena developers, voted in favor of forming earlier this year and has now been officially elected. The union filed an election petition with the U.S. National Labor Relations Board back in April, while also requesting that Wizards of the Coast voluntarily recognize them. The artist claiming in May the workers claimed in May that the company were dragging their heels on the ladder, having missed a deadline, which that happens. So, again, I've had the argument, and I've seen somebody in my comment section now, again, on the video that I did about unions and why unions are actually anti-capital, trying to argue that unions are there to placate people when literally we watch people fight for unions to get to the point. Like, any argument that we should not accept half measures as a stepping stone towards getting full everything is silly and dumb, and is an argument for maximum blood and accelerationism. Anyway, Matt as Madeline says, I can't wait for the next in-universe set. Imagine having such an amazing IP instead of hopping on every other IP but yours. So, Matt, you know what's funny? I actually disagree with you. I don't think that Magic the Gathering is an amazing IP. I don't. So, the reason I say that is because in terms of brand recognition, the only things Magic the Gathering has that are recognizable in their entire repertoire are their card back and their card frame. But no character from Magic the Gathering has any notoriety outside of people who care about Magic the Gathering. If you talk to somebody who's never played a Mario game, they know who Mario is. You talk to somebody who's never played Pokemon, they know who Pikachu is. Talk to somebody who's never watched a Marvel movie or read a comic book, they probably know who Spider-Man is. Talk to somebody who knows nothing about Magic the Gathering. The most they'll be able to do is tell you the shape of the cards. I think Magic is a great game. It is probably my favorite card game of all time. But in terms of intellectual property, I think it is an incredibly weak intellectual property. By comparison, League of Legends. If you've never played League of Legends, you may actually know exactly who Jinx is, just because a bunch of people really liked Arcane, saw it on Netflix, and talked about it. League of Legends is something I would say is a strong IP. I think it's probably one of the strongest IPs next to Pokemon in terms of brand recognition, even outside of people who play it. Magic doesn't have that. I wish it did, because I really want Liliana of the Veil and Dina Soulsteeper to be more widely recognized. Taco Cat says, a lot of people know Jinx just from cosplay alone. Jump Point says, the fact that you would play the Jinx song till it got stuck in my head. Yay! Said, not helped by turning it into massively multiplayer crossover via Universes Beyond. That's just further generalizing it. Yep. Said, I think some of the Magic stories would make good movies. I do too. I really do. So let's see what happens after the Netflix show, if we ever actually get it. So, like, Magic has actively tried to have a strong IP, and they have failed multiple times. The Gatewatch was an attempt to jump onto the Marvel superhero train early. The Gatewatch exists solely because they wanted to have an Avengers Unite moment for Magic the Gathering, and it did not work. People who like Magic learned to hate the Gatewatch because they got really bored of the Gatewatch stories, because it turns out stories about the same set of characters that don't actually change and are stagnant are kind of boring, and they work in comics because they're serialized. Doesn't work in Magic because it ain't. And then Loot. Like, very, very obviously, Loot is an attempt to make Magic the Gathering's Pikachu. The fact that after making Loot, merchandise of Loot was already rolled out before players had even developed opinions on him, like, it reeks of desperately trying very hard to create that recognition of brand, when that recognition of brand a lot of times happens organically. The Lagwitch says, off to the dentist, have a fun chat, necklaces, don't give it a chat demands. Maybe. Tazor says, I like MTG's world, but I only give a fuck about Zendikaar's Hedrons, the Cars in Kaladesh, and the Phyrexians from 2010-11 specifically. That's fair. Although, bear in mind, Kaladesh is now called Avishkar. During the Phyrexian invasion of the latest sets, Kaladesh's name got changed because there was a worker revolt. Because the aristocracy did nothing to actually protect the workers in Kaladesh from the Phyrexians, so the workers revolted and had the entire name of the plane changed to what they wanted instead. So it's now Avishkar. The out-of-universe reason that it was called Avishkar instead of Kaladesh is because Kaladesh is apparently a dirty word in a different language, and that wasn't really considered when the set came out, so they changed the name to Avishkar out of lore because they wanted to avoid that problem, and then in lore, they used the workers unionized and revolted against the aristocracy as the in-universe explanation for why. Melody says, I learned Magic the Gathering had a story from a worm fanfic. Weird. Terran Bastard said, so Loot was Ubisoft-styled forced iconic. Yep. Jessica says, I knew the out-of-lore reason, not the in-lore. Yeah. The Phyrexian invasion, there's a lot of stuff about the recent Phyrexian invasion I actually like a lot more, the more I think about it. Anywho, continuing. So today is a momentous day for the workers of Arena. After months of planning, waiting, and organizing, United Wizards of the Coast, CWA, posted on social media and to their website yesterday. Our dream is finally a reality. The votes have been counted, and our union of UWOTC/CWA has been officially elected. From this day forward, we have a union. The union added that they hope to share the good news of a ratified contract with all of you soon. Based on the fact that the union posted on June 2nd that they'd kicked off the NLRB election process for recognition and were expecting the results in a couple of weeks, it appears voluntary recognition from Wizards of the Coast was not forthcoming. As of late April, the company had told Kotaku that they received the filing and were reviewing it carefully and would respond through the appropriate process. Now, remember that during the process of unionization, Wizards released effectively a dead name document and forced a bunch of employees to out themselves to their fellow employees in order to get the recognition, which is really fucking dumb. And it would have been an okay mistake to make maybe once, but the fact that they did it twice back to back was really weird. But I already did an entire other video talking about that specifically. Upon initially voting in favor of unionization, United Wizards of the Coast CWA's members cited hopes to push for a better protection against layoffs, changes to remote working policies, use of generative AI, and mandatory crunch. Yeah, where did I put it? So, this thing should not fucking exist. This thing right here should not fucking exist at all. In no world of any variety should there be a senior AI engineer at a company that is so reliant on artwork and artists for its survival. Now, if you're using a senior AI engineer specifically because you want it for offloading coding or some shit, then maybe, sure. Hopefully the union is there to protect people from layoffs if you try to use that. But we know that Wizards has used AI-generated artwork in the past. There was an AI-generated advertisement for the re-release of the Shocklands at one point that was in this, like, weird Avishkarian steampunk setting that was super generic that had a billion problems with the picture. Let me see if I can find it for you. So, this image right here, this one, super AI-generated, and it was produced by Wizards of the Coast. And we should hold them to this shit every single time. Point out, hey, we remember when you did this. We remember that you did this. We remember that you thought it was okay that you did this. So obviously, the different lands are not AI generated there. The Rakdos Guildgate, the Temple Garden, Silesian Guildgate, they're not AI generated. You know what is? Everything else. So first of all, if this is supposed to take place on Ravnica, where does this look like in Ravnica? To any of you? Any of you who know anything about Magic the Gathering's lore or story, which guild does this room look like it belongs to? Because it's too tame to be, is it? And they're the tech bros. Let's see here, just real quick. Just real quick. Let's see here. MTG guilds. Let's look at the different guilds. Which one could it be? Which one of the guilds could it actually be in the story? Is it the Azorius Senate? Well, no, not really. It doesn't look like anything that they would have. They're lawmakers, whatever. Is it the Izzet League? Nothing's exploding. So no, it's not Izzet. Is it the Orzhov? Well, that's not a church. Is it the Boros Legion? That's not barracks. Is it the House of the Dimir? The Dimir don't exist. Canonically, their job in the Guild Pact was to not exist at all. And I wish I was kidding. But Lord Sazdek doesn't exist, and he can't hurt you. And the Dimir Guild doesn't exist. There are 9 guilds in the Guild Pact. Trust me, bro. Anyway, Cult of Rakdos. Again, nothing's on fire. Not Rakdos. Golgari Swarm. I don't see a single biological organism there. Selesnya Conclave. Same reason. Gruul Clans. The Gruul don't have fucking tables! Simic Combine. Well, it's not underwater. So, it's not pre-Guild Pact Shatter Simic, because there's no ooze anywhere, and it's not post-Guild Pact Shatter Simic, because there's no merfolk. So, I don't know where in Ravnica this is supposed to be, but it's definitely supposed to be somewhere in it. Yeah, no, this shit right here, AI ain't good with numbers doing that thing. Just why? Like, there's a billion ways to tell that this is AI generated. It is the most generic, insulting thing to anybody that gives a flying fuck about Magic and its lore and its locations at all. But it was given to us. It was given to us. So no, I don't want there to be a senior AI engineer at Wizards of the Coast, because when I think of Wizards of the Coast and AI, all I think of is that shit that they've already done. Anywho, let's continue. Upon initially voting in favor, CWA's members cited hopes to push further protections against layoffs, changes to remote working policies, use of generative AI, and mandatory crunch. I am hopeful that what we can build here, and being clear-eyed about why it's necessary, said the MTG Arena senior software development engineer and union member Damian Wilson. Said that this isn't just something that affects WotC, it is how most American workplaces are set up. Investor profit above all, even if it hurts those behind the products we all know and love. Solidarity, and best of luck to those who unionize Magic the Gathering Arena and its devs. Hell yeah. Does anyone in Ravnica even use standard IRL numbers? fairly certain... Actually, no, they do. I have evidence they do. I have actual evidence that standard IRL numbers are used on Ravnica. Hold on. I have this. Where is it? Where's the boy? Where is the boy? Here it is. Yeah, I have evidence they use real numbers. So here is Niv-Mizzet the Firemind. This is the guy who was he's the only surviving dragon on Ravnica. You know why he's the only surviving dragon on Ravnica? Because his ego is as large as a fucking planet. He purposefully killed every dragon on Ravnica so that he would be the only dragon on Ravnica. The only drakes on Ravnica are clones made from his DNA that are all made to be inferior to him. He was the leader of the Izzet Guild. The higher up you go in the Izzet Guild, the more bits of his name you are allowed to incorporate in your name. This is why there are characters named Mixus, who are high up in the Izzet Guild, because you're taking the MI from his name. Or somebody whose name is like Alexander Isorius or some shit. It's because you're allowed to take parts of Niv-Mizzet's name the higher up in the guild you go. It's why if you look at a set of Ravnican cards, you'll notice that the Izzet cards, a lot of them sound really close to the word Izzet, and it's because it is actually customary in their guild to incorporate Niv-Mizzet's name. Now, Niv-Mizzet is currently the leader of all of Ravnica because he got killed by Nicol Bolas and then came back as the Living Guild Pact. We have had 3 Guild Pacts so far. The main one that got shattered by Saznek, then the one that was carried by Jace, and now the one that is carried by Niv-Mizzet. So, do you want to know my evidence that Niv-Mizzet, or my evidence of actual numbers in Magic lore? It's this flavor text right here. Now, you might not know what this flavor text means, but I'll tell you what it means. You know how I said Niv-Mizzet has an ego the size of a fucking planet? He invented a special form of math that only has one job. Spell out his name. Look at this, and I want you to read it top down instead of left right. It is Niv-Mizzet is number 1. That is what it spells out. It uses real numbers, specifically to spell out his fucking name in math. Jassa says, holy... Jassa, you never knew that? You never knew that that's what he did? This is the guy that tried to make Ravnica the cornerstone of every fucking Omen path. This is the guy that tried to square up with Nicol Bolas specifically because he wanted a chance to show that he could beat him, and then got his ass handed to him. Like the literal... He died off camera, and Nicol Bolas walked around with his skull for a little bit. The guy has an ego the size of a mountain. He made math to spell his fucking name. Terrence says, God damn it, I just saw it. Yeah. It's great. It is great. 110%. So the epitome of... so that's what raising numbers to the power of an angle means? Yeah, it's math created specifically so that Niv-Mizzet could have his name spelled out. Gideon Wells says the epitome of red mage thinking. Gideon says, who has the bigger ego, Jace or Nivy? Niv. It's Niv. So, oh, no, actually, no, it's Jace. It's Jace. Because Jace tried to remake time so that he could have a fucking daughter. And, like, don't get me wrong, I too would rewrite time for a chance at the Vraskusi, but he already had her. He just wanted to be able to have a child. So now we have Tam, who's Jace's child, who only exists because Jace ripped time apart with loot. You know, normal things that some politicians can't do. Correction, he's currently rewriting time and space. Right. He's currently in the process of doing it. You're right. Jessica says, is there a card named Tam? Yeah, there's 2 cards named Tam. Look up Tam. She's a person on Strixhaven. She's one of the students in Strixhaven. She is there under Liliana's tutelage because Liliana wants to jump Jace's bones. But Jace is with Vraska. Oh, she's Simic? Yes, Jassa, she's Simic because Vraska is green and Jace is blue. That's why she's Simic. And if you wonder where the black is, she's being taught by Liliana. There's the black in the color combination. So that makes sense. That's why the name was familiar. Yeah, no. So she was part of the Lore of Eclipse storyline, and she's in Strixhaven as well. Madeline, thank you for redeeming a stretch. Magic lore is funky, man. Magic lore is great. I adore Magic lore. Did you know that the strongest hero in all of Magic the Gathering was a eugenicist? Because Urza was a eugenicist. I know that Yawgmoth is called the eugenicist, but I promise you, Urza is a eugenicist. With my whole fucking chest, I can promise it. Gideon says Urza's a hero? I mean, he did stop the Phyrexian invasion once. Of the 3 that have happened. Said Urza's a hero, like I love him, but I won't say he's a hero. Mad says, what an amazing IP you can talk about for hours. So here's the thing, Mad. My judgment for what makes a good IP, like a really, really good IP, is how recognizable that IP can be outside of people who are hyperfans of it. I am a hyperfan of Magic the Gathering. Therefore, I can go on and on about the Magic story. Also, Urza 100% deserved to get his head chopped off. That happened in the Phyrexian Arena, and that was 100% deserved. Every way, shape, and form. Sorry. But, again, if I'm not a Resident Evil fan, I probably know what an Ari Zombie looks like. I probably know what Leon Kennedy looks like. If I'm not a Magic the Gathering fan, I don't know who the fucking Urza is. Said, nah, Urza isn't the strongest. That goes to Commodore Guff, because he literally retconned his own Geth. Okay, sure. Commodore Guff is probably the strongest one, but Commodore Guff does not exist anymore because Commodore Guff rewrote the reality to be that way. Mad says, I think IP being iconic and isn't the same as it being good. So, I think the Magic story is good, but I do not think the intellectual property as a whole is good. I think the game is good, the story is good, but the IP itself, as an actual intellectual property, is not. Orla, 7 minutes. 7 minutes is all I can spare to play with you. Thanks, Albert Wesker. Will says, oh, did anybody know Planeswalkers were once god-tier characters? Yes. Because Karn created Mirrodin. That's why Mirrodin has Phyrexians now, because Karn had a fucking Phyrexian heart in him. When he made it, he literally brought oil to the plane, not realizing it. So, yeah, no. Yes, Planeswalkers used to be damn near gods. It is why Nicol Bolas is such an angy little dude. Japazio is having a great time in League of Legends, I swear. It's fantastic. Poor Memnarch. Yeah, poor Memnarch. Poor Memnarch. This kid says, I think New Phyrexia is some of the most recognizable design MTG has ever had, and it hasn't gotten close before or since. Either that or the Eldrazi. He had Phyrexian ooze in him, it's true. It's true. I just got here. Is this how we're talking about JD Vance? No, but JD Vance's favorite Magic the Gathering card is, in fact, Yawgmoth's Bargain. So, I mean, that is a true thing that we know, actually. Robbie says, so my blue-black deck with Jason Liliana makes even more sense now? My god. I said, wait, he plays Magic? Here. Vance's wife, Usha, had also volunteered during a recent Fox and Friends interview that her husband had a dorky streak, including an interest in Magic the Gathering in the 90s. The big problem with transitioning from being a 13-year-old who likes Magic the Gathering to being a 15-year-old who likes Magic the Gathering is that 15-year-old girls do not like Magic the Gathering, so I dropped it like a bad habit. That said, he did reveal his embarrassing favorite deck from his playing days, Yawgmoth's Bargain. That is a direct quote from JD Vance. He was a Yawgmoth's Bargain player. The fucking asshole. Piece of shit. And that is our... you twat. So if there's one thing I would say, though, that I'm happy about, it is the fact that we live in a world now where men can get dates because they play Magic the Gathering, as opposed to lose dates because they play Magic the Gathering. And I'm sorry, but I have evidence of that, and I'm literally right here. Saki and I started dating because we streamed Magic the Gathering together. It was literally a week after streaming Magic that we started dating together. So, like, I'm sorry. You 100% can play card games to get laid. I promise you, it worked for me. Results may vary. Hey, you made it to the end. I want to give an extra thanks to the patrons who allow me to do this full time. I want to thank Aaron Rail, Astral, Blitzkrieg, Jemshin, Poundini, Red Joker, Victoria, Jonas, Craig, Tarika, Fireshard, Smiling GM, John, Dren Hadamada, Creeper, Sagitta, you know I'm not saying that last part, Sylvie Snow, Valis of Seraph, Ottoman Angel, Rooster Rachel, and Fire Panda, who are all my $20 and up patrons.